What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where today we're going to be talking a little bit more about a possible trade that the Colts could make. We just talked about Trey Hendrickson possibly getting traded to the Colts, right? Somebody in that Lou Anarumo defense. You think about what we need as a defense, what could help our secondary, a really good pass rush. So we talked about Trey Hendrickson. And of course, maybe my favorite defensive end in the league for quite a while now has been Myles Garrett. Absolute freak show of an athlete from the defensive end perspective. I mean, incredible at what he does. Myles Garrett, one of the best, but it was very recent when the Browns, I was literally like about to sit down and record a video about, hey, this is who I'm thinking we should go for on the defensive side. And all of a sudden, the GM, Andrew Berry, I believe is his name, for the Browns came out and said, yeah, we have zero intention of trading Myles Garrett. That's not going to happen. And then today, I mean, literally, I was just about to record a different video and boom, Myles Garrett requests a trade, right? Puts a little note out on social media, something that he put together, basically saying, you know, love my time in Cleveland, but this is me requesting a trade, doing it publicly, and putting the pressure on, right after they said they wouldn't get rid of him. And this is a guy who, obviously, he's getting a little bit older, and so he's at a point where he's ready to win. The Browns, much better now than they were for the rest of my life, before they got good here, right before they drafted Baker Mayfield, but nonetheless, the Browns really just still one of the more disappointing teams in the NFL over these past few years. So when you look at it, Myles Garrett is a guy who, I mean, just again, he is an absolute freak show. This is a guy that can go on any one of the other 31 teams and continue to be just as dominant as he's always been. So for Myles Garrett, like, of course, when you look at the Colts and you look at our situation and what we're looking at, you know, we talked about going and getting Trey Hendrickson. It's like, what would the Browns want in the case where they lose Myles Garrett? Of course, they're going to want a ridiculous amount in terms of draft capital, and what that comes with. I'm sure as they look at their roster, if they're going to trade somebody like Myles Garrett, they're thinking about the future and they're going to be thinking about getting as many first-round picks as they can possibly get. And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Because honestly, there aren't a whole lot of people in the league that I'd be like, yeah, let's trade first round pick for him, or hey, let's trade. The way trades have worked lately, it's like you can get superstars for second, third, fourth round picks, fifth round picks. So that's just not going to be the case with Myles Garrett. Edge rusher is just one of those that I think is different, and Myles Garrett is one of those that I also think is different. I think he's just a guy that, because of the production year in, year out, the consistency, being able to stay on the field, as much of a freak as he is, like, he's a guy that will warrant multiple first round picks. This is a very rare occasion where, as a Colts fan, this is where I'm like, okay, screw the picks. We don't need them. We need Myles Garrett. Bring me Myles Garrett. Whatever it costs. Like, well, whatever his contract is, whatever. Right, I haven't even looked it up. I don't care what the contract is. I don't care what he wants. I don't care what it costs. Just think about a defensive line. I mean, this might be the most dominant defensive line of all time. You think about Myles Garrett next to DeForest Buckner, who's next to Grover Stewart, who's next to Liatu Latu. What, bro? Put together that front four with the offensive line that we have, right? And you talk about winning in the trenches. What are the Eagles doing? They're winning in the trenches. Obviously, we have to build the team other ways, and we can find money by getting rid of some of these guys. So you make it happen. This is where, again, very, very rare opportunity and very rare spot where I say get rid of all the first round picks you possibly can, if it means getting Myles Garrett. And if you have, whether you have to get rid of Kwity Paye, which is unlikely because he's making $13 million a year, Samson Ebicom you can save $8 million a year. You trade him, and he's on the last year of his deal, and it'd be huge savings for the Browns. And what kind of production will they get, though? I think that's going to be the tough thing with trying to trade Ebicom, is that he's coming off the injury, so teams are going to not really want to take a chance on maybe not getting that level of production anymore. So it's tough to say how we get that done, right? What all has to be done to get that trade done? Who's going to end up doing it? Of course, the Lions are going to come out and probably be one of the front runners in terms of that team that so close, but they need an edge rusher, and can they fit them into their salary cap and everything? I expect them to be involved. Just like Max Crosby is, I know, Lions Syndicate. That's what he's been talking about for a long time, is getting an edge rusher. So I know he's going to be talking about both of those guys. And for Colts fans, I mean, of course, we need to upgrade the secondary. I think you can go through the draft and through free agency to be able to do that. And I think if you go like finding a proven edge rusher is so difficult. Like getting edge rushers in the draft, like there's of course no guaranteed thing. You don't know, no matter really what their production is in college. Like there are guys that don't produce a bunch of sacks in college, but then get to the NFL, get a little NFL training, and become freak shows in the NFL. And there are guys that are incredible in college that get to the NFL and can't deal with NFL tackles. So at the end of the day, if you can go get Myles Garrett again, you think about how much meat we'd have on our defensive line. It's just astonishing to sit here and think about what that defensive line would look like and how hard it would be to run the ball, how hard it would be to pass the ball. I mean, you think about having multiple guys that are 6'6" plus on the team, right? Those guys being able to put their hands up. You have Grove in the middle, being able to stop the run if they want to run the ball. Then you have Latu on the outside, who comparatively to the other ones, Latu, much smaller, and Latu, he would be the speed guy, right? He's your speed rush. And he still has power, right? You look at Latu's legs. It's not like he's a skinny guy either. He's got some beef on him as well. So the prospect of possibly having that be our defensive line is very exciting. Something that I'm definitely thinking about. Something that I definitely hope the Colts at least consider. Myles Garrett, of course, wants to go somewhere where he can win. I assume there's a no trade clause somewhere in there, which is why he's openly saying, "Hey, this is what I want to do," and he's only going to okay trades to some of the best teams in the league. Might even restructure contract, right? Like who knows what he's thinking, but of course he wants to win, and of course. Our success largely hinges on the success of Anthony Richardson and his development. So, of course, that's the most important thing for us this offseason is him developing and getting AR right. But, boy, you add Myles Garrett to this equation, things get crazy, right? You think about what Trey Hendrickson has been able to do as a pass rusher and Sam Hubbard has been able to do as a pass rusher in the Lou Anarumo defense. And then you instead have Latu and Myles Garrett as your edge rushers in that defense. I think the impact would be even greater. And then you add in, of course, the guys in the middle. I think it would, though, having that front four would help our secondary. I think it would make our defense. You think about the inconsistencies of our defense would start to go away, right? You think about how dominant last year's defense was at different times, and then how in the same game at different times they just forget how to play football, right? And those inconsistencies would dwindle away. And I think Myles Garrett would be a big part of that, man. And it'd be great. How likely is it? Probably not very. But boy, it would be sweet. Of course, let me know what you think. What would you do to get Myles Garrett? What would you give up in terms of a trade? Would he cost too much for you to want to go get him? What are your thoughts on potentially going after Myles Garrett? You let me know down in the comment section. Of course, Ballard probably not going to do it. I get it. Okay, but let's have the discussion. Let's have a little fun this offseason. Instead of every conversation just going straight to Ballard's not going to do it, let's talk like he is going to do it. All right, so you let me know what you're thinking down in the comment section. Make sure you subscribe, have notifications on so you get notified anytime we have any more content dropping on this channel. Of course, I appreciate you stopping by for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.